So I want to take this opportunity to welcome, first of all, the St. Charles Church and those who are here, those who have joined us today. And also want to take the opportunity to welcome the Saginaw Church. We're glad that you've joined us. And also want to take the opportunity to welcome those who may be watching. Maybe you're in California or in Canada or some other country. I know we have several viewers who tune in. Maybe some of our own members who are not able to be here today. We're glad that you've chosen to join us. Now, last time when we live streamed, we began a brand new series on the 8 laws of health. And you may recall that I was very mean, and I started out with a quiz. And we used the acronym New Start. Help me out. What does the N stand for? Nutrition. What about E? Exercise. Someone was going to say energy. Well, yes, you need energy to exercise. What about the W? Water. S? Sunlight or sunshine. That's absolutely right. And of course, in Michigan this time of year, we could all use a little more of that. T stands for temperance. A is for air. R is for, and T is for trust in divine power. Now, last time we had a quiz. And I wanted to share with you the results of that quiz. Because I really wanted to know which church was more health conscious. Was it the Saginaw Church or the St. Charles Church? Well, the numbers don't lie. It turns out that the St. Charles Church is just a little more health conscious than Saginaw. Yes! 43% in St. Charles were able to name all 8 of the laws of health. In Saginaw, only 33% got all 8 of the laws of health. In St. Charles, the ones missed most were sunshine, air, and trust in divine power. Well, I missed the sun too this time of year. In Saginaw, I'm actually really concerned for the Saginaw Church because the law of health that was missed most at Saginaw was temperance. For some reason, the people in Saginaw just couldn't remember temperance. So when we cover that subject in our series, Saginaw Church is going to have to pay extra attention. Maybe it's because we have potluck every week there. I don't know why we missed temperance, but we did. These 8 laws of health come from the book, The Ministry of Healing. On page 127, we read, pure air, sunlight, abstemiousness, that's the word for temperance there, rest, exercise, proper diet, the use of water, trust in divine power. These are the true remedies. Why is our health important to God? Because it matters spiritually how you treat your body physically. The Ministry of Healing also says on page 315, whatever affects the body has a corresponding effect on the mind and the soul. That is why we're doing this series. We want to be spiritually healthy. Our spiritual health matters to God, and that is why we ought to be concerned about our physical health, because there is a correlation. So today we talk about proper diet, if you're using the quote, or if you are using the acronym, it would be nutrition. And yes, in this series, we are going to use this helpful acronym, New Start, nutrition. The Heart Attack Grill. Have you ever heard of the Heart Attack Grill? It's located in Las Vegas, Nevada, and it serves unhealthy food. The name of the restaurant, Heart Attack Grill, is only the beginning. Take, for instance, the menu. It consists of 8 burger varieties. You can order a single bypass burger, a double bypass burger, a triple bypass burger, a quadruple bypass burger, etc., all the way up to the octuple bypass burger. The quadruple bypass burger, for instance, contains 9,983 calories and has been identified as the world's worst junk food. It consists of 4 half-pound beef patties, 20 strips of bacon, 8 slices of American cheese, a whole tomato and a half, an onion served on a bun coated with lard. The only available side item is flatliner fries, fried in pure lard. Before you enter, you will read a sign that says, "Caution, this establishment is bad for your health. And cash only because you might die before the check clears." Once inside, all the guests are forced to wear a hospital gown. The cooks dress up as doctors, and the waitresses are dressed up as nurses. A nurse drives around in an ambulance delivering drinks, a small ambulance, that fits through the tables and so forth. It is a mock medical environment. If you're over 350 pounds, you eat for free all day, every day, as much as you want. Be careful how much you order. You're not allowed to share your portions with others. And if you don't finish your food, you will be spanked in public by one of the nurses with a wooden paddle as hard as she can. The owner of the Heart Attack Grill, John Basso, is sarcastically frank when questioned about his establishment. Here are a few of the statements Dr. John has made. People come to Las Vegas from all over the world to gamble with their money. I'm telling them to come to the Heart Attack Grill and gamble with their health. While my colleagues will prescribe green vegetables, gymnasium workouts, avoidance of tobacco and alcohol, I'll prescribe the exact opposite. That is burgers, beer, cigarettes, Cokes, everything that makes a diet wonderful and make you want to stick to it for the rest of your life. Other diets have a yo-yo syndrome. Your weight goes up and your weight goes down. Any doctor will tell you that's bad for your health and horrible for the body. What I do is provide a stable, constant upward gaining of weight. That's what the Heart Attack Grill promises, and that's what the Heart Attack Grill always delivers. When my patients don't finish their burger, I give them a spanking. It's called pain management therapy. For those who do manage to finish the quadruple bypass burger amid a flurry of photography from tourist bystanders and other patients, they're pushed in a wheelchair to their cars. Mr. Basso says, "I'm probably the only restaurateur in the entire world who is unapologetically telling you that my food is bad for you and that it will kill you and that you should stay away from it." And unless you think the Heart Attack Grill is all humor and no bite, consider this. In March 2011, the 575-pound official spokesman for the restaurant died at the age of 29, just 4 months after taking the job. In February 2012, a man in his 40s went into a cardiac arrest while trying to finish his triple bypass burger. In February 2013, a 52-year-old man named John Elliman died. John Elliman was the unofficial spokesman for the Heart Attack Grill. He'd been a faithful patron of the restaurant since 2011, eating at the restaurant nearly every day, despite John's warnings that it was not everyday food. After his death, the owner said, "John was such a part of our family, it's hard to look at our menu today without getting teary-eyed." In fact, when doing an interview on live television, Mr. Basso showed a plastic bag with the cremated remains of someone who died at his restaurant. I quote him now, "I'm here with the cremated remains of someone who died at my restaurant. He died of a heart attack at my restaurant, and I'm putting the bag clearly on the table. I wish that Burger King, McDonald's, and everyone else would do the same thing." We read in Revelation about Jesus, who is worthy, because he is able to make us kings and priests of God, that we may reign forever on the new earth. But there's another power at play, a power that seeks to destroy, a power that seeks to kill. While Jesus wants to make you a child of the King, the devil wants to make you into a Burger King or a Dairy Queen. I don't know about you, but I'd rather be a king, a son of God, rather than a Burger King. I don't want to be a Dairy Queen. While Jesus wants to give you a new heart, the devil wants to give you a heart attack. The Bible warns us in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour." The devil and money-hungry business people are the ones behind the fast food, junk food, comfort food, and so forth industry. You don't think it's an accident. It is. This, my friends, is all part of the great controversy between good and evil. It matters spiritually how you treat your body physically. Diet and nutrition. Food is so closely associated with our emotions that nobody likes anybody, especially the pastor, to mess with what they're eating. Yet the Bible has a lot to say about food, and so does the spirit of prophecy. It's all part of the great controversy. Is it any wonder that when God raised up the Seventh-day Adventist Church, he placed a strong emphasis on health and health reform, which includes diet? It's more than a coincidence. And so I'll share some things today that may not be popular, may not be pleasant to think about and hear, but I want to encourage you not to shoot the messenger, but if you have a disagreement, disagree with the message, and that's okay. But today, I'm just going to do my best to share with you the counsel that God has given us in the Bible on the subject of diet, because I believe it is important for God's remnant people living in the last days of Earth's history. And today I want you to take the message that I am sharing in context with all the other messages that I've shared week by week. You know, when you preach a message on diet, and that's the only message you hear from me, if that's the only message you were to hear, you may think, man, that guy is the most unbalanced preacher I've ever heard. But I'm trying to get my point across, and sometimes you have to be clear. Does that make sense? So it's to be taken in context, and I don't preach about this every week. In fact, I don't think I'll preach about this again once I'm done this message. But we're doing New Start, and we're going to talk about nutrition, and we're going to touch on some things that I believe are important. And I want to encourage you to put into practice what you learn. I want to encourage you to study and read for yourself, because obviously I'm not a dietitian, and obviously in a few minutes I cannot possibly touch on whatever there is to talk about on diet. I encourage you to study for yourself, research for yourself. The Bible reveals that we humans were created on the sixth day of creation. We were created by God. Our Father is not some ape in the jungle. Someone once said, "My ancestors may have hung by their necks from the gallows, but it is certain none of them ever swung by their tail from a coconut tree." And that's true. Our Father is God. We're made in God's image. And when God made us, he told us how to take care of our bodies. He published the results in the Bible. The Bible is the owner's manual for our bodies. Those who follow it generally live a healthy, happy life, and those who disregard it often will reap what they sow, a life of disease and sickness. Let's open our Bibles to 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 31. 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 31. The Bible here says, "Therefore, whether you eat or drink, or whatever you do, do all for what? Do all for the glory of God." Now let's reverse that for a moment. That must mean there are some things you cannot eat, and some things you cannot drink to the glory of God. I want to suggest to you that if you ever find yourself in Las Vegas, you should not go by the Heart Attack Grill. You may not be able to eat at some other restaurants as well to the glory of God. What can we eat to the glory of God? Well, let's see what the Bible says. What fuel has God intended for these complicated machines? Well, let's go to the book of Genesis. Genesis chapter 1 and verse 29. Genesis chapter 1 and verse 29, we see here right after or right during creation what God says. And God said, "See, I have given you every herb that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it shall be for food." Now, when God created Adam and Eve in a perfect world, with no sickness, no disease, no heartache or death, he didn't leave it up to them what to eat. You know, there's a lot of people who think It's none of God's business what I eat. Oh, yes, it is. He is your creator. He is the one who made you. Look at that verse again. God said, behold, I have given you, this is from the English Standard Version, I've given you every plant yielding seed that is on the face of all the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for food. We see very clearly that this was a plant-based diet. It included grain, nuts, fruit, and vegetables were added sometime later, I believe after the fall. We know that for certain, before sin, Adam and Eve did not eat meat. We know that because in Romans chapter 5 and verse 12, the Bible says that death came as a result of sin. Therefore, before sin came into the world, there was no death. In fact, even ancient pagan legends speak of a golden age of innocence where man abstained from killing animals. Can you picture Adam in the Garden of Eden? Adam and Eve says to Adam, Adam, see that cow over there? Go get him for me. And Adam goes running beside him and hops on with some kind of knife or dagger, and cow falls over, and he comes back dragging this cow, and he says, Eve, here's lunch. No, in a perfect world, nothing died. Even animals like tigers and lions did not prey on each other for sustenance in God's perfect world. We get an idea of that because in the book of Isaiah, in the new earth, the Bible says the lion will eat straw like an ox, and they will not hurt or destroy in all my holy mountain, says the Lord. So killing and death came as a result of sin. But Adam and Eve's diet, was it adequate? Did they get enough protein? I've heard a few people wonder if vegetarians get enough protein. Let's take a look at Genesis chapter 5 and verse 27. Genesis chapter 5 and verse 27. Now, you'll notice that I have to be creative when I'm reading Genesis 5:27 because it comes right out of my Bible here. So, all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. That's pretty old. 969 years. That even has our beloved Don Schlager beat by a few years, doesn't it? After the flood, man's lifespan decreased dramatically. I wonder why. Well, there's probably several reasons. One is the diet change. I'll talk about that in a moment. There may be other environmental factors such as the atmosphere and so forth we don't know. But we do know that after the flood, plant life was severely limited on the earth. Noah's food supply was probably low. After more than a year on the ark, vegetation would take some time to grow back. So God allowed human beings to begin eating animals. Even so, there are some animals that we are not supposed to eat. You know which animals they are? If you're ever in doubt, you can go to Leviticus chapter 11, and you can discover which animals should and shouldn't be eaten. There are really, you could say, 3 diets in the Bible. There is the ideal diet of fruits, nuts, grains, and vegetables. Then there is the acceptable diet of clean meats that you can read about in the Bible. And then, number 3, there is the unacceptable diet of scavengers, such as pigs and crustaceans, God's sewage disposal system. Now, I wonder, just posing a question, I wonder, we who are living in the last days of Earth's history, upon whom the ends of the world are come, we who are living in the antitypical day of atonement, we whose names are coming up before God in the investigative judgment, I wonder, we who've been entrusted with sharing to the world the last message of mercy, I wonder where God would have us in this spectrum of ideal, acceptable, and unacceptable. I'm not going to answer that question for you. I just wanted to pose that question so you can think about that. Leaving theology for a moment, though, I wonder, in a world that is filled with heart attacks, laden with cancer, mad cow disease, E. coli, where meat is often filled with growth hormones and other questionable substances. I wonder which diet we should follow. And then there's the problem of world hunger. Nearly 1 billion people in the world are undernourished. There's about 7 billion people in the world right now, so that's about 1 out of every 6 people that don't have enough food to eat. It's hard for us to imagine in this country of plenty, but that's approaching 20% of the world population. What does this have to do with being a vegetarian? Well, raising animals specifically for food in great numbers is not an efficient use of grain. For every pound of food that farmed animals are fed, only a fraction of the calories are returned in the form of edible flesh. In this country, we funnel huge amounts of soybeans, corn through these animals that instead could be used to feed starving humans. Now, I could get into the mathematical equations of how much grain is wasted this way, but I won't do that. But according to the World Watch Institute, meat consumption is an inefficient use of grain. The grain is used more efficiently when consumed directly by humans. Continued growth in meat output is dependent on feeding grain to animals, creating competition for grain between affluent meat eaters and the world's poor. You know, I wonder, in the last days of Earth's history, if a plant-based diet might just be an issue of stewardship. Again, I'm not saying that it is, but it's something to think about. Now, is eating meat a sin? Obviously not, because Jesus himself ate meat. We understand that. However, God's people shouldn't be asking, what is the least I can do and still get into heaven, but what would best honor God? And then there's something else I want to think about, or I would like Seventh-day Adventists who are inclined to eat meat to consider. What I'm going to do is I am going to have 2 considerations as it relates to diet this morning, one for non-vegetarians and one for vegetarians, okay? I'm going to be fair with you all. I'm not going to be harder on one than the other. 2 considerations. First of all, for those who are inclined to eat meat, and then after that we'll do one for the vegetarians. Those who do eat meat should consider these Bible verses. The first one I'd like to look at is Genesis chapter 9 and verse 4. Let's go there in our Bibles. Genesis chapter 9 and verse 4. The Bible says here in the book of Genesis, chapter 9 and verse 4, "But you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood." What did it say? Don't eat the flesh with the blood. Let's go on to Leviticus chapter 3 and verse 17. Leviticus chapter 3. And verse 17, last verse of the chapter. "This shall be a perpetual statute throughout your generations in all your dwellings. You shall eat neither fat nor blood." Okay? That's pretty plain. No fat, no blood in the meat. That's clear, and it would be a perpetual statute. Now, in the New Testament, was this statute still in effect? Let's take a look. Let's go to the book of Acts, chapter 15, verses 28 and 29. This, of course, was the result of the Jerusalem Council. Acts chapter 15, verses 28 and 29. "For it seemed good to the Holy Spirit and to us to lay upon you no greater burden than these necessary things, that you abstain from things offered to idols, from blood, and from things strangled, and from sexual immorality. If you keep yourself from these, you will do well." So no fat, no blood when you eat meat. Now, I could give you many more verses on this subject, And for those who may be skeptical, I want to point out that I didn't even bring Ellen White into this. This is only the Bible. And the Bible is clear. People are breaking God's express will, as found in the Bible, when they eat the fat or the blood. Now, virtually all the meat you buy in the grocery store at a restaurant has blood in it. Blood is part of what gives meat its flavor. The only way to get meat which has been drained of the blood is either to kill it yourself or slaughter it yourself and drain the blood, or buy meat from a Jewish store which sells kosher meat. So please, if you must eat meat, don't break God's express will, as seen in the Bible, by eating meat with blood or fat. This subject is often overlooked. Seventh-day Adventists are people of the book, and I don't know that I have heard other Seventh-day Adventist preachers preach about this. Maybe they're scared of getting stoned or something. I don't know, but hey, it's in the Bible, and I think we ought to consider what the Bible says. God will hold us accountable for whether or not we follow His express will as revealed in the Bible, yes or no? I believe He will. Now, I told you I was going to have a consideration for those who are vegetarians. I want to tell you, it is extremely possible, and many people do, to live an unhealthy life as a vegetarian or even as a vegan. In fact, I think it's becoming more and more common. Being a vegetarian is not some kind of magic wand that means you'll be healthy, wealthy, and wise. In fact, I would bet there are a lot of people who are healthier, who have a healthier diet, who are not vegetarians because they have a more balanced diet than people who are vegetarians. So just don't pride yourself in being vegetarian thinking, man, I'm good. There are a lot of vegetarians who think, well, I don't ever eat meat. I won't eat it even on Christmas. I won't even eat the turkey on Thanksgiving. Yet they have an unhealthy diet. I visited people, and don't worry about you. I won't talk about you till after I'm gone from this church, okay? But I visited people who are very holy. I mean, they are the epitome of holiness in every regard. And I don't know if they eat this way all the time or just every time I come over. But when I'd go to their house, and by the way, I hope they're listening today. I really do. I don't mean anything bad against them. I hope they're listening today. But their vegetarian diet is so lacking in fruits and vegetables. I mean, fruits and vegetables in their houses are mighty scarce. No seeds, no nuts, no whole wheat bread. I'm thinking, what do these people eat? Well, what they eat is ketchup and mayonnaise and mustard and pickles and potato chips and white buns and white bread and white pasta. It's so white it's almost racist. Well, to be fair, sometimes there were beans, but the beans were so sweetened, they could have been for dessert. And don't forget about the grillers. But seriously, how healthy do you think those are? I'm not a nutritionist, but I do know that if all the fruit you're getting is from a jelly-filled donut, something's wrong. If all the vegetables you're getting are from pizza topping, something's wrong. God has given us so much good food. Yet vegetarians, of all people, eat so much salty, oily, high fructose corn syrup junk food, and they think they're going to be healthy. God has given us so much amazing stuff to eat, amazing stuff. Behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the face of the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for food. I want to mention a few of these legumes. Do you know how many different kinds of legumes there are? You have so many vegetarians. Well, the only thing I've seen for a legume is beans. Well, there's so many out there. I love exploring all the different kinds of beans that can be grown. There are thousands of different kinds of beans, and they all taste different. There's peas, garbanzos, lentils, lima beans, kidney beans, black beans, fava beans, pinto beans, white beans, and many more. And there's grains. There's wheat, rice, corn. And by the way, corn is not just for the cows. There's oats. There's millet. Millet isn't just for the birds. There's rye, there's buckwheat, and many more. You say, Pastor, I don't know how to cook these things. Well, that's why I've enjoyed attending our natural lifestyle cooking class. I'm a little late to give a plug for that, of course, but we had a great time coming out together with our community, learning how to cook healthy. And if you don't know how to cook healthy, you can investigate, you can research, you can buy cookbooks, you can watch videos. There's so much that you can do if you just choose to be intentional about being healthy. Is it going to be easy? Probably not. But is anything in life that was worth it easy? No. And nuts and seeds. There's flax, sunflower, sesame, pumpkin seeds, coconut, almonds, pecans, walnuts, hazelnuts, cashews, Brazil nuts, pistachios, macadamia nuts, pine nuts, pistachios, and the list goes on. I think I mentioned pistachios twice, maybe. And fruits. Don't get me started on the fruits. I can go right through the alphabet. And keep in mind there are many sub-varieties of each of these fruits. There's avocados, apples, apricots, bananas, cherries, dates, figs, grapes, jackfruit, kiwi, lemons, mangoes, nectarines, oranges, papaya, peaches, pears, persimmons, pineapple, plums, and pomegranates, quince, rambutan, starfruit, and tomatoes. And then there's berries. Blackberries, blueberries, red berries, and so many berries like strawberries and raspberries. And for the new elders of our church, there's elderberries. This is God's ideal diet. Learn to enjoy what God has given. I'll be honest, is that all right? When I go into a grocery store, especially if I'm hungry, I'll wander by the bakery section, and I want a maple-covered Long John donut as bad, well, probably worse than other people. But what I do, at least most of the time, is head over to the fruit section of the grocery store, and I buy something exotic, something expensive that I maybe wouldn't have bought otherwise, and I do that instead. And after a while, your taste buds become converted, and you start to enjoy the good things that God has given without a stitch of guilt. Diet does matter. Have you ever considered that 3/5 of the word death is eat? Paul Bragg, in his cookbook, stated, "The average person is poisoning himself day by day with the food he eats. Most people eat with their eyes. If the food looks good, they do not question whether it is healthful or death-dealing. From birth to old age, the average individual never experiences the taste of real, natural food. Our tiny, sensitive taste buds have been for generations so polluted by unnatural, artificially seasoned, and stimulating foods that most of us are unable to appreciate the fine, delicate flavor of the natural foods. Foods must be fixed, hashed, mashed, smashed, boiled, broiled, stewed, baked, pickled, preserved, flavored, salted, creamed, dried, roasted, fried, greased, peppered, vinegar-laden, smoked, toasted, crushed, rolled, mealed, oiled, fermented, beaten, sweetened, spiced, soured, peeled, shredded, steamed, braised, colored, and otherwise seasoned in order to offer an appeal to the civilized man." Then he adds, "Civilized man is not satisfied with the food the Maker has supplied him and must do something with it before he feels it is fit for him to eat." How's your diet? What changes do you think you should make? Now, friends, please don't misunderstand me. I gave a warning disclaimer at the beginning, and I need to do it as we near the end. Nobody can eat their way into heaven. I have met some people who think they can. There are people who make every little item of diet a salvation issue. If I get a little bit of cheese, I won't be saved. I don't know what the reasoning is, but they are extremists. They take the right arm of the gospel, which is the health message, which was supposed to be a blessing, and they turn it into a club and beat people up with it. Or they start fights or controversy, whatever it is. We don't want to do that. Yet at the same time, we don't want to be in the other ditch, digging our graves with our forks, eating that which God and common sense has clearly told us is unhealthy. You reap what you sow, and that's never been truer than in the case of diet and health. And there's a proper perspective that you need to have. Today I'm talking about diet, and if this is the only message you hear from me, you'd probably come away with the wrong impression. And I don't want that to happen. I don't want you to leave today with the impression that we should make diet into a religion. We shouldn't. The focus should be on principles rather than specifics. The focus is on health. And to that end, a dessert or a donut or something that is not normally part of your lifestyle isn't going to hurt you now and then, because what you eat or not eat, generally speaking, is not a sin. It's a matter of health. I also want to encourage someone who may be listening, who sees the ideal, sees where they are, and they're tempted just to give up. Oh, I could never do that. I would like to encourage you today just to take small steps toward a healthier diet. While a person can't eat their way into heaven, they could eat their way out of it. What am I talking about? I'm not talking physical food, I'm talking spiritually now. When I eat good, healthy food, it makes me happy. Jeremiah 15, verse 16 says, "Your words were found, and I ate them, and your words became to me a joy and the delight of my heart." How's your diet spiritually? Are you eating the Word of God? Or are you at the Heart Attack Grill stuffing yourself with spiritual junk food? Television, video games, movies, entertainment. Just as cheese puffs and Snickers will dampen your enthusiasm for whole wheat bread and bananas, so worldly entertainment and pleasure will inhibit one's taste and desire for Scripture and prayer. No wonder the Scripture says, "For the time is coming when people will not endure sound teaching, but having itching ears, they will accumulate for themselves teachers to suit their own passions, and will turn away from listening to the truth and wander off into myths." Just as the time has come when people want sweet food, salty food, fattening food, junk food, and they don't appreciate the good fresh fruits and vegetables, so I believe the time has come when people don't want a healthy spiritual diet. Take the bran out, remove the fiber, make it go down easy, make it taste good. How's your diet? How's your spiritual diet? Because that is what God is most concerned about. And Jesus said to them, "I am the bread of life. He who comes to me shall never hunger, and he who believes in me shall never thirst." That's the diet to be on. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I pray that each one of us would have a good diet, a good spiritual diet, a diet that helps us grow spiritually. Lord, maybe there's someone here today that needs to leave off the junk food. Not the chips or the sodas, but the entertainment, that which distracts us and takes away our relish for the Word of God. Lord, we're thankful that the time is coming when you will come again and will receive brand new bodies. Until then, Lord, may we be faithful with the health that you've given us. May each one of us have a proper balance and a proper perspective in these things. We ask in Jesus' name. Amen.